What's up, Grace Girls? Welcome to the Allow Yourself Grace podcast, where we focus on helping Black women change their lives by discarding negative thoughts, pivoting in the right direction, and shifting their mindset through cultivating a trauma-free lifestyle. I'm your host, Courtney Kristen, educator, content creator, life coach, counselor, and mental health enthusiast living in Houston, Texas. I created the Allow Yourself Grace podcast because I wanted to create a space for Black women to share their thoughts, feelings, and stories that make them who they are without fear of judgment. Allow Yourself Grace provides emotional support and encouragement within the Grace Girls community for women in need of non-biased opinions from women other than family and friends. Personal development, self-care, career, faith are among many of the topics we will discuss on this platform. Allow Yourself Grace podcast is here to encourage Black women to live unapologetically and thrive in being authentically who they are and were designed to be, an entire vibe. No topics are off limits. We will cover it all. Now, grab a notebook, pen, sit back, and enjoy the show. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Allow Yourself Grace podcast. This is season 3, episode 2. I have another guest in the house. As always, I like to let my guests introduce themselves in case I forget anything. So I'm going to have her introduce herself to you guys.
Hello, everybody. I know you're excited about season 3, right? So I am Trachelle Thomas, LPC. And I am here as an author, as a Black woman,
Yes, ma'am.
as a contributor, and just out of pure excitement. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Y'all, so funny story how I found her on Instagram. Y'all know I'm transitioning from being a school counselor to LPC. And so I'm always following people that are doing what I aspire to do or if they're in the area. And so I found her and I was like, oh my God, it's so amazing just to see so many Black women doing their thing out here. And so, yeah, what caught my eye is she just released a book. And so we're going to talk about that in this episode. But I want to have her kind of tell you a little bit about herself, kind of where she's from and how she got into her field.
So I am from Houston. Never lived anywhere else.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a Houstonian. I am a former school teacher. I thought I was going to be a nurse, okay? For one semester. And then I decided, no, that wasn't the way I needed to help.
Mm-hmm.
Started being a school teacher. Then I was like, well, what could I do? You always want to be in position because there's an older male at my church when I was younger that was like, hey, well, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, a teacher, I'm gonna be teaching. And
right.
So he told me, and I never forget, always make sure that you have the credentials to do what you want, even if you don't need it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, that made sense. Never be in a position where you can do a job but don't have the credentials to get it. And I was like, well, what else can I do? And I became a school counselor by accident. So I didn't even know. It's so embarrassing to say. I became a school counselor by accident. It was on his purpose, but by accident to me. I thought I was signing up for my LPC degree.
Oh, wow.
Turns out that we weren't. And so October comes, they're like, you're going to graduate. December, I'm like, who's graduating? So they're like, it's the degrees in school counseling, and then you're going to be allowed to take the extra classes for LPC. So
wow, you got both.
I love it. It turned out very good. So becoming an LPC for me, though, was started off about women. I am a big advocate for women and just the fact that we are the bearers of most things.
Yes.
Life,
yes.
Keeping things together. And so I have a strong feeling that if women are all together, most of the world will be too.
Right. No, for real.
And so that's where the LPC came from, in the private practice, kind of just community.
I love it.
Getting us into the faces of people that look like us. So
yeah,
where I got.
And instilling in us that therapy's okay, because that's another thing. That's another hard area for Black women and in the Black community in general. It's just realizing that we need it and that it's okay. It's okay to receive the help that you need. I love that story. And my story is kind of the opposite. So I went through all the way for LPC, and then I was teaching.
And so ended up just staying where I was, right? Yeah. And so just getting back to it is like, okay, why didn't I just do them both? What was I doing? So that's kind of where I was. But just realizing that you're making an impact and that building those relationships are so important. And I think that's the most important, especially with our kids. It's like they need that person. And so it was always like a very empowering thing for me to have so many kids come back and visit me. And
do you find being a teacher, because I used to find this point, do you find being a teacher and then having that counselor brain that sometimes you don't find yourself being their teacher? You find
I understand.
You find yourself being their
You're like in it. You're like their second mom. Yeah. You know, I have some kids who have graduated already. They're in college, and we still talk. They text me. They find me. Yeah, I've been to graduations. I've walked that senior night. Like those things that you build those relationships with kids. And absolutely. It's relationships that last a lifetime. And so, yeah, I agree. I always say I could never go back in the classroom because I felt like I wasn't reaching everyone. You know,
that's the exact reason. That's that connection I feel like that I have with the statement you made. Because it was like, I started outgrowing the room. Like, it was like, okay. And it's not like shine. It's like, no, I'm literally too big for these four walls. Like, I need the community, the parents, the everything. And then it was a way as a school counselor too, and especially LPC, to act out on your complaints.
Yes.
the stuff you complain about, you now get to like act out on it and finesse it.
Because you're in those meetings. You're in those meetings now, and you can kind of advocate more, not only for students, but for teachers too.
Absolutely.
Because you kind of see both sides. It's crazy because the counselor gets stuck in the middle. Oh, yeah. And it's like, oh 100%. My God. You're like, you're stuck in the middle. Because you understand both sides. Yeah. So that's so exciting having you on. I saw you at graduation. You were at graduation with some of those were some of your students?
Yeah.
Awesome. So how's that seeing them actually progress in?
It's so funny because when some of them you see and it's like that immediate thought. So when you're handing out that card and then they're looking and then they look and they like, you can go through the entire conversation just by looking. So why are you not doing what I said? Why were you absent? What is wrong? Like, you're gonna. Yes. So when you see them, you have the eye contact. Immediate conversation flies through, and then they got that look on their face, like I'm gonna walk across this.
Like I actually did it.
You got it done, and you're standing there sometimes, like you mentioned about as some of those kids' parents, they're walking up there. Some kid may not have anybody.
Exactly.
In the stadium that's there screaming and yelling or championing for them. So you kind of get that good best of both worlds.
Yeah. It's hard not to, leave with everything every day. I think that's the biggest struggle. So how, like as a counselor, how do you balance your home life and then your clients and your students and everything they're going through? Because having a heart, because counselors, we have the biggest hearts, but just
I think the balance comes from one always knowing that for me, I feel like all the time I remind myself that I'm always not the professional. Like, it's easy to be biased, it's easy to have your feelings. And so when you keep reminding yourself that, like, hey, listen, I'm here, and to this person I am the professional. So there's things I have to maintain, but in my mind, I always remember, like, that is a human being sitting across from me. I'm a human being too. And so as a human being, how would you want, if you were reversed, because I go to therapy too.
Me too, girl.
So I went in reverse. What am I expecting from the other person? And do I want that person across from me to be so up here that I can't get anything from them? So I just remind myself every day, like, yes, I am the therapist, but in my practice, I'm solution focused. But you're coming here not to listen to me tell you what to do, but you're bouncing all your stuff off me, and I'm just giving it back to you to make your own decision.
Yes, it's kind of like that guidance. It's like you're not really saying much, but I'm kind of repeating back to you what you're telling me so you can actually hear it. Because sometimes we don't hear ourselves. No. Like we are, talking about our problems and kind of laying everything out. And I remember my therapist said, like, you have the solution. You just said, what are you talking about? And she's like, you're doing all these things.
That's my mission.
It's not making sense.
My mission and vision is like, you literally are born, and I wholeheartedly believe it. It's not science. It's not so high academic. Like, we are all born with exactly what we need to get the job done.
It's already in you.
Are you using it? Probably not. Does it need help? Probably so. Is it broken from trauma? Probably so. You just need to get it together, fix it, and then you can do the work.
Yes, yes. Let's hone in on the trauma, because I love a good trauma conversation. I always say everything stems from your life experiences. Yeah, and so trauma, how do you feel about that? How do you feel that plays, what role do you feel that plays in people's lives?
I think that it's like this, it can become this overused word, like narcissism.
Yes.
Like, I'm so sick
and
of
gaslighting and all those. Yes.
People learn the word and they just take it.
Yes.
But trauma can become like an overused word, but it is absolutely one of the most groundbreaking things that happens for so many people. And sometimes for people, we hear the word trauma and we think of one or two things. Like, we go to the thing that we feel like is the worst. Oh, did somebody get shot? Did somebody die? Like, did somebody die? And it's like, those aren't the only things that are traumatic to people, but those aren't the only things that are holding us back.
Right.
So when we talk about trauma, it's like people don't realize, hey, I'm 50. We make complaints, or we see people, we're like, oh my God, he or she still act like that.
They're like, so old for that.
Yes. Too old for that. But the real truth of the matter is that's not no 40 or 50-year-old you looking at. You looking at that 8, 7, 6, 12, 11-year-old person that wherever their trauma happened, that's where they got stuck.
Wow.
So when you say you're too old for that, your age has grown, but you have not at all.
So mentally, you're in the same space.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
That's how you have that family member that can still get mad at somebody about something that happened in 1993.
Wow.
And we're waiting 2023.
And they don't let it go. They they will bring it up every time there's an argument, every time. Oh, wow.
Because the trauma places, whatever is impacting them at that point, every time they see them, it's a trigger. Wow. And it's triggered because they haven't dealt with it yet. They haven't worked on it yet.
Wow. So what do you think people need to do to start to do that work?
Tell the truth first.
Come on.
I mean, if you're not willing to tell the truth behind it, you can't work on it. You can't fix it. And then if you're not willing to be vulnerable, you can't process it. I mean, the saying goes is, the places where the most healing resides is the places we don't want to go. Like, nobody who intentionally wants to be hurting. Nobody. So we escape, we avoid the place that hurts the most, but that's where the most work is. That's where the most healing is. And you just got to be vulnerable enough to go.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you said being honest, because I struggle with, like, people not being accountable. Like, that irks me to my core. I'm like, oh my God, why can't you just take the ownership? I've learned from this. This is what I did. I understand, and move forward. But that's so hard for people to do. Why do you think that's a difficult thing for people to do?
Okay, think about it in school terms. The teacher who's not teaching, right? So everybody, and it's easy to say, and teachers, but there's so many factors. That's true, but there are simply some teachers that are not teaching, right? Like, just, or administrators that aren't administering. Like, there's people who just aren't working. If I admit that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing or not doing, vice versa, once I give that story up, I no longer have an excuse to be the way I am.
Wow.
Once I let it go, once I say, okay, oh, y'all right. Like, you're right. I keep bringing that up. Once I let it go, what do I have to rest on? Nothing left.
Nothing, because then you're forced to accept the resources and help that people are trying to give you, because you've admitted it already.
So then the question becomes, then who are you then?
Wow.
At that point. If your aunt and uncle are angry, we know them as mad auntie, drunk uncle, this, right? If they let that go, then they're no longer like that. Then now we got to wonder, who are they in general now? Like,
right. You got to kind of get to know them.
They ain't angry no more. Who are you when you're not drunk no more? Who are you? And sometimes that's scary to people to figure out who they really are.
Yeah. And I've seen relationships like break up because of that, like especially like personal intimate relationships, because maybe one person's changed, maybe they stopped drinking, maybe they stopped doing a certain thing that you guys used to do together, and now it's like you said, you don't know that person anymore, because it's like, who are you?
It's the veil is pulled up.
Wow.
And there's full out exposure, and there is nothing like when God exposes you.
What? I'm telling you,
there is nothing.
And sometimes, is there. And sometimes he lets things happen over and over and over, and then you're like, okay, I got to give it up.
You know what? That's funny when you say that, because it was a conversation I had the other day, and somebody was like, "Well, why does God let things happen?" It's a matter of free will, and here is the thing: is that God's own child suffered for the likeness of us. So if this imperfect person is willing to, had to go through, he didn't have to do that. He could have got down. He could have walked away. He could have shut all this down. But he made a choice. So we also get to make these choices.
Right.
But the choices, whether you accept them or not, whether you 100% in alignment, doesn't exempt you from anything. And I think that's what people are missed by, is that just because you have a choice, and even if you make all the right choices, you're just simply still not exempt. And that's hard to accept sometimes.
It is. But I think it's a part of life, and it's a part of growth, because if you never go through anything, you're not really going to know how to handle certain situations. Like, we have to go through things in order to develop those problem solving skills.
I'm a person, I learn from other people telling me, like, you tell me that, okay, you're right. And so I will definitely take what you say, or anybody says, or see what somebody has experienced, and I'll learn from that. Everybody doesn't operate like that, but I can definitely say the things that I've learned best, that have taught me the most, are the things I paid for.
Because when you pay attention. My husband and I always say that. When you pay attention.
Monetarily, or some other way that it impacted me, my eyes are open.
Yes.
Like, I paid the price for that cost of wisdom. All right, I
got it now.
I got it.
Wow. And I think when people realize that, they would see like the elevation in their lives. Like, you see it so clearly. Like, once that light bulb clicks on, you see it. So balancing the private practice and school.
It's just
easy. It's rough.
It's rough. And sometimes one lacks over the other. And one, when you're just in business and you are just simply trying to learn the do's, the don'ts, the cost of business.
Come on.
So, the only thing I think in my mind, because I had a breakdown the other day, like, I'm just sick of it. I just can't.
Yes.
And I have to be reminded that you're not technically investing in the business, you're investing in yourself.
Wow.
So it's like, that is the push. It's like, okay, straighten up, get it out, get it together. But ultimately, your biggest investment is you as an individual person.
Yes. Every day you have to invest in yourselves. I'm learning that, I've been learning that over the past few years, because it's like, if I don't really take a chance at what I really want to do and things I want to do, or something that God's put on my heart, like, I'm not really being true to who I am, and I'm not fulfilling my purpose here. Because a lot of times we sit on stuff. And so it's like, I know I want to do this, or I know I should be doing this, but
what is
not
that
right
hesitation?
now.
What's that hesitation?
Because we want to stick to our plan, and sometimes our plan is not His plan for us.
I think too, exactly. But I think that hesitation for me in my mind, because it took me forever to get this out. It's been in there for so long, but it was so much of, well, once I'm done, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, how am I going to get it out? What am I supposed to? Mm-hmm. And somebody was like, you worried about all the other stuff.
Just get it out there.
Do the one thing first. And, failure is a big thing. And I think that especially for Black people, when failure is the expectation, that fear gets in there, because it's like, okay, I want to do this. I want this to be great. I want to be impactful. I'm doing this on purpose.
Right.
So you're like, the idea of it not being great. It sometimes keeps people from not even doing in the first place.
It does. It does. And we forget to celebrate ourselves along the way. Like, when you really like start running down your credentials, you're like, oh, I'm really her.
I'm really good.
I'm really good at
this. A friend of mine came and she sent me a text message. It was long text message, and she was like, I was driving to work, and you crossed my mind, and she said, I'm gonna see you at work in a minute. But I had to say it while it was fresh on me. Do you realize, like, I know an author, girl. Like I know someone who is an author whose work is in the United States Library. Like, I can tell people, like, I know a famous person.
Right.
And for me, I'm in the, okay, I got this done. I got that done. I need to
You're in a checklist mode.
Right? And she checked me back in like, hold on, sis. Like, stop. Like, start clapping. Like, you legit did something.
You did that.
Can't do. And that is, you are absolutely right. Like, just stop for a moment.
Just stop and enjoy the moment.
You got this podcast, sis.
Yeah.
Like, it's somebody at home, like, oh,
I want to do it.
But I got to get the lights. I got to get the camera.
Yes.
I got to do all of this. So for a moment, like, you up here and you just got to sit in that for that moment. Like, I did that.
Right.
I did that for real.
Exactly. And I want to go back to you saying that the expectation is failure in the Black community. It's like, my husband and I went on a date last night where we were talking about how, people don't believe. They don't believe that they can do it. In our community, it's kind of like, oh, what? Oh, everybody has this mindset to where it's like, you just don't really believe you can have it.
Or what we're sold is our exceptions to the rules are the Oprah, the Obama, the this. Like, well, you see this happen, so you can do it. And so what also gets ignored is the disregarding of the many years of a setback.
Yep.
Like, you can tell me to run a race and I can start. But if we're running downtown and I'm being set on and this person has got a 1, 2, 3, 4 hour head start, it's like, come on.
Right.
Like, don't disregard that somebody's been sitting on me and they got a 2, 3, 4 hour head start to get downtown. It's like, you can't ignore that, but then you also can't make an excuse. So it's the therapy of acceptance and commitment. The therapy of acceptance, the theory for accepting and commitment is, I'm not going to deny I'm bipolar. Right. I'm not going to deny that somebody's grandfather touched me inappropriately back then.
Right.
But in my acceptance, I'm going to commit myself to moving past it. I'm not going to ignore it. I don't want nobody to, like I tell my clients, I'm not going to come here and make you be like, it's okay.
Right.
Like, all that happened, but you can get over that. Yeah. Like, let's deal with that first.
Let's own it.
Let's get comfortable with the fact that I got it. Okay. But what next?
Yes.
Let's don't disregard us.
Yes, don't. And don't stay there. We linger there. We linger in those spaces, and it keeps us from even getting in the race, for even signing up for the race, because we're still in those spaces.
It's in the mind, though. It's because also too, and we hear it at the ferry with the oh so and so, like it's already rigged against you. And I think those people that are exceptions to the rule, they've gotten to that place of accepting whatever that was happening with them. They just have decided, like, you know what? But if I don't get in the race, I won't even know what the race was like.
Whoa.
Like, so I might as well just get in the race. At least I can say I know what was happening when I got down this way, when I got down that way. But to never go is the problem.
That's the biggest problem that I see. And I'm so glad we talked about that today, but we have to shift that perspective. So where do you think we start with that?
Yourself. And I think the hardest part is that, especially with stuff, we look outwards. We're going to automatically think about who's going to help us, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that, and I have to learn too, like, I can't do everything by myself. I do have to go out to get the help. But the foundation of everything is you. I don't care how many sponsors you get. I don't care how much support, how many little blessings you get dropped on. At the end of the day, the foundation of everything is you in right here. Yeah. Like there's nothing you are doing that you did not think about at first, and you solidified it in your mind. Right. And once you solidified it in your mind, the other stuff is just the addedness to what you already had said. Right. What you had already said.
But you already wrote down 1,000 times. Yeah.
What you solidified. Right. If you can't think it for yourself, you can't get it done.
Wow. And I love that you said that too, because so many people are followers and they jump into stuff because other people are doing it, or they see someone else doing, oh, now I want to do this. Now I want to do that. That's why it's so important to like find what you're passionate about and find what, really get your vision clear on what you want to do personally.
I forget because I want to quote them so bad, but I can't remember who said it, but they said, doing a lot of stuff don't mean you get nothing done. Like that's why I can paraphrase what they said. And I was like, ooh. Wow. Because for a minute I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. To come up with all these things, open up all these gas lights, light this up, and then put fires in all these places, don't mean you get nothing done. The goal is not to be doing a lot of stuff. The goal is to get something done
effectively.
And just because you are moving and you are got all this stuff, if nothing's coming to fruition, if you are not being able to stamp it done,
wow,
what's the point?
What's the point of starting it?
If it ain't gonna have no conclusion to it.
Come on. I love it. So let's get into this book. Yeah. You want to tell the people what the book's about and where we can find it.
Okay, so where you can find it, The Little One Holding You Back. Where you can find it, Amazon and Barnes and Nobles right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm working on the audio book. So hopefully I'll be able to have that voice out there soon. But those are the places you can get it from. This book is like old in my brain. It's new in the world. But this started from a conversation with a friend of mine. We're just talking. And I just was like, she was like, you know what? I want to be in the room. I want to get in places to learn stuff I don't know and do stuff I have never done. And I was like, yeah. So we were talking about a book. This 7 years ago. Wow. And I was like, okay, I'm going to write a book. I started it 7 years ago in my head. Then I started, because everything got to start there, but it manifested too long. But just started writing and just started bringing life as I met people, taking pieces of this, taking what I knew, telling the truth. So this book basically started by not lying no more, like to myself, and being unafraid to be like, oh, you know what? If I did this, I'm sure 12 million, 10 other thousand people did this too. So let me go ahead and be real enough to say this is this. And then as a therapist, it was like, I got to finish this because somebody that I'm sitting next to, there's times where I'm like, go buy this and this is in there. Like, so it was just this thing of like, it's time to tell the truth. It's time to put something in the world that no matter what, it's going to forever be in the world.
Yes, that legacy piece. So even when you're gone, this could inspire somebody to be great. And I think that's the most important thing that I love about books. It's less than 1% of the world write books. So like you don't realize
come on, data.
Come on. How much you're really doing and impacting people and impacting our community. I remember growing up, I didn't know too many Black authors. Like I don't remember any books that we read.
They let us read this.
Right. We read stuff like Charlotte's Web and all the classics, but we didn't have any. I want to see somebody that looks like me. And I think that's important in our community for our little girls to see like people that look like them doing different things, not just your typical things like doctors, nurses, lawyers, basic stuff. But there's so many other careers. There's other things out here to do. Being an entrepreneur, is not something that we knew of when I was a kid. Like, I think I had one person in my family that owned a business.
That owned something.
Yeah, he owned a business, a mechanic shop. And that was it. But nobody talked to you about that. It was always like, go to school, get a degree. But that's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, though. Yeah.
And the one thing about this book, somebody asked me when I had the book release was like, what do you want people to get? What is it that you've gotten, but what do you want people to get from this? And my response was like, that I did that. Like, for me, I want to get into the reality that, like, OMG, I did that. But I want other people to get out of it, not only what's in its contents, that whatever you healing from, whatever problems you having, whatever's going on, you can do this. Like, this ain't it now.
It's
like
all inside of you.
This ain't it. And this book is about a lot of stuff that goes wrong, but a lot of stuff that goes right. And that you don't have to get bounded in the wrong space. You can come up. You can come up out of that. Like, it's time to come on up out of that.
That's it. Look, we all need to read that book. I'm excited. I'm definitely gonna dive into it because I'll have all the information in the description where you can go purchase it, the link for it. But yeah, y'all go support her book. I think it's amazing. Y'all know I always love books that come from therapists, especially therapists that are Black women, that can really resonate with our community. So I find that amazing. So are you high school, middle school?
I'm high school.
I've
been middle school, high school, and middle school. So I know all the crazy things.
Right. Did you put anything in there that you thought would resonate with some of your babies?
Oh yeah. And I was able to. I had a wonderful coworker of mine. I used to work with him, and so there was an error that happened with the publisher, and they sent me the wrong size books. He bought all of them.
Oh, that was nice.
To the kids.
Oh,
so I was able to give the kids some books. And so one of the students walked past me in the hallway one day. I always talk to her, and she walked past, she bumps me, and I'm like, and that immediate in the hallway, turn around, like, what in the world? Who bumped me? And she turns around, she looks at me, and she said, "Thank you." And I was like, "Why?" I was like, "I ain't seen you in like a week."
Right.
She was like, "I finished the book, like, thank you." Not Black kid, white girl.
Love it.
That right there for me was like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Like, and I come in communication with them. I'm talking to them in my office, and to have that moment where I'm able to turn around or to say, hey, here's something free, but it's going to free you too. Like, here is something for you.
Yeah.
Particular to this conversation we having right now.
Right. It's really ministry without what you do is ministry without that title, right? Yeah. Because it takes special people to do this. It takes and you can immediately identify the people that shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
But that do love it, they're passionate about it, and they really genuinely care. And so I love that you're in that space to really reach those students. So your goals moving forward, like, what are your goals? What do you see yourself doing to finish out the year? What's going on with you?
I think the goal right now is one, because sometimes I had my end of year evaluation, and one of the things I said to my principal was like, sometimes I feel like I need to slow down. And sometimes that's the opposite of what we're told. Like, we're told to go.
Stay on go.
Yeah, and I learned, like, sometimes I need to just slow down, like, for a second. Because I'm one of those people, goal matched, what's next? Like, what's next? And I came to learn, like, life ain't right always having to achieve something.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to slow down and sit with yourself. So I'm on this thing, or I'm going on vacation. So that's one thing, but I'm on this thing to reinvent what my goals are. Like, I got to take a moment. Sometimes you got to go back to the goalpost. You got to go and pay attention to what you were, eliminate, get it together. So right now I'm just trying to, one, get this book out here, continue to do that, make connections, see what God has for me next. Not only what I have for myself, like, get back in alignment real quick. Like, well, okay, am I off base? Am I on target? Am I missing something?
Yes.
And that's where I am.
Yes. And praying about decisions before you make them is so key, because God will always give you some sort of sign that it's going to be okay, or you need to sit down. Like,
and even when we get it wrong and we misread, we misread what he said or what we thought he said, he gives you the grace to come on back and try it again.
Come on. And look, allow yourself grace. Yeah. That's why I came up with the name for this podcast, is because we're so hard on ourselves.
I had a client last week. We were in session and we were leaving out, and like, well, if I say something, it's kind of like, no, like, So then I said, and just the conclusion of it all, I was like, listen, it's amazing how you have created this illusion that if anything is outside of that illusion for you, it's bad, or it's this thing you created in your mind. But it's also amazing how the amount of grace that you pray for, you've been given, you can extend.
Wow.
Like, that's her struggle right now. Being able to receive, accept, and understand, and be excited about the grace that they are receiving, but not knowing how to align that same grace to give it back out to somebody else.
Wow. So that's powerful. And that's something that I think we don't think about, as just because we're in the hustle and bustle, and it's like we want people to do for us what we're not willing to put back out there. And it's like, wow, are you
really? Want it all.
We want everything.
We don't want to give it up. We don't want to give it up.
So we're hard on ourselves. We're hard on people around us. It's like, hold on, wait, they're human. Even with kids, I see adults and I'm like, they're just kids, right? Y'all know they're kids, right? Like, let's get back. Let's bring it down.
Place. Yeah. You got that teacher who was bullied in school, or who had sibling issues. And so when they see this kid, they not seeing that kid.
I mean, the messages, we can't show y'all the messages, but I'm sure she gets them too.
But they are seeing, but I'm seeing the person who messed with me back in school.
Wow.
When that parent is addressing me, I don't really see this parent and understand that I'm the professional.
That's a whole other ministry.
This person,
yes,
and so a lot of the times, like those rose-colored glasses are serious. They are
very serious. But I think, like you said, it just takes someone special to really just not have those blinders on and meet people where they are. Meeting people where they are, and seeing them for who they are, whether they're adults or kids, is key. Because I really think that's the place where you can really minister. I say minister, but that's the place where you can really help them.
It's ministering.
Because it's ministry.
It's exactly.
And literally sometimes when I don't know how to deal with a situation, I'm like, okay, let me pray before I go over here, because I don't know. God, give me what I need to deal with this. Especially when we're dealing with, we're coming out of a pandemic. People are just getting back to normal. Some people are still not back to normal. You still see people walking around with their mask, or they're in their house. They're so scared.
Yeah, new mask, girl. Not the ones physically on. It's other masks now. Just stuff. Just I'm masked up from just stuff. And that's another aspect of come on, take this off.
Yes.
So people can see,
so they can see you.
Get some help, like, so that you can come out of that the enclosed place you.
Yeah, we want to see you. We want to see you.
That's it. That's the word of the day.
And I think people will start to understand you more. You start to understand, okay, what triggers this person? What can I say that's really gonna affect them? And I don't want to say anything the wrong way. How you word things. Yeah.
Making room, though. I was talking about this the other day, like with my husband, like, hey, I asked, hey, do you feel like right now you are in a space where you have permission and there's room for you to be vulnerable? Because for me, sometimes I'm like, come on, like, because for me, it's natural to talk, to speak, to say. Everybody don't have that space. And some people's place that they're broke at is really hard. So we have to be accountable as people outside of them to make room for them. I may want to tell somebody something that somebody did to me a long time ago, but there's not one person in my family or in my circle that is giving me the safe space that I feel comfortable to take that there.
Right.
So I'm just keep my mask on and just keep on going.
And so many families are like that. Family, I think, is the most difficult safe space, because it's like they think they know you, right? It's like I'm in my 30s now. I'm not 5, right? So it's like they only see the 5-year-old. They only see, oh, you used to be, and it's like, no, okay, I think I'm a little different. I've lived a little bit. And so I think getting past that sometimes is just difficult for people. And so I'm the type of person that I'm just like, like you said, I'm not even talking about that with y'all. Like, moving on.
Find
moving on.
But that's the goal for everybody. Go find the space.
Yeah.
If the space is not with your family, if the space is not with your friends, just find a therapist. And be careful about your therapist too.
Oh, come on. I'll get to that.
I tell you all the time, like, you just called me. Am I the first person you call? Yeah. We'll call 3 or 4 more people.
And they're probably like, what?
That's not my lack of confidence, but you need to make sure that when you taking this valuable stuff to people, because, you know, therapy can be like church. It can go really well. It can go real bad.
It can go real bad.
Like,
and it usually starts off a little rough, y'all.
Yeah. So you got to be able to say, all right, this don't feel too good these first 3 sessions, but I'm going to maintain that this is the right person that I'm trusting, that I'm taking myself to.
No, that's definitely true, because I literally wanted to quit the first couple sessions. I was like, I called my friend. I was like, girl, what is this? I'm not going back. She was like, no, stick it out. I'm like, no, I don't like her. I don't like her. You know?
But you know, I tell, like at school, they be like, Miss, you be tripping. The person who love you don't let you wreck yourself. The person who they gonna challenge you, they gonna come for you, they gonna get in your face.
They gonna get in your face.
The person who love you will do anything to stop you from crashing.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the person sometimes you don't like.
That's the person you don't like. Or you ain't, like you said, you tripping. No, I didn't. I was like, I don't like this lady. She eating on the thing. Like, everything she was doing was irritating me. But because she was making me take that ownership, she was making me go to those places that I didn't want to go to. But you have to find those people. Because if you're always around people that are like, oh yeah, it's okay.
They're horrible though.
That's terrible.
There are therapists though that don't challenge you. There are family members, there are friends who don't just be like, sis, come on, like what? And I don't even want friends.
Come on,
people. That's not family members who just don't say, no, sis, you wrong. You
can do better than that.
That ain't right. Like, oh no, you out, you to the left. My husband all the time be like, Trachelle, your mouth. Watch your mouth. Did you say that to them? And I'm like, so now I'm like, okay, watch my mouth, watch my this. Because I've learned intent don't matter. The impact do.
The impact.
The intent does not matter. Because I used to have a hard time apologizing to my husband about stuff. Because I'm like, but my intentions were. Did you hear the word intentions? And he had to get me to learn, like, don't nobody care about your intentions.
It's the way
it's the impact that matters.
Exactly. No, because our mouths can be slick, especially as women. Like, we can say some stuff and we think like, oh, well, that was yesterday, so like, why you not over that already? But you know, with men, it's a little different, because they like, did you really just say that to me? Yeah. And it'll come out later. I told my husband, no, you need to start telling me now. The day of, because I'm gonna need you to be over there like tomorrow.
Trying to control it. Come on.
I'm still trying to control it again. Like, girl, if you don't be quiet. There was this pastor I was listening to, and he was like basically talking about wives and, you know, how our mouths, like how the things we need to do. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm turning this off. He wrong, because he calling me out. He calling me out.
Let's see what Netflix thing is on.
Right.
It's tripping.
He's tripping. But no, we definitely need those people in our corner. And I'm with you on that. Like, I don't want people around me that's not going to call me out and make me maximize my potential. Like, what are you doing? Like, get up. Come on, let's go. You can do this, or you shouldn't be doing that. You know better. You shouldn't have said that. Like, you need those people around you. It only makes you better.
Accountability process.
Yeah, it only makes you better. So are you an only child? Do you have siblings?
I am not. Listen, some days I used to be like, I wish I was, but no. I have 3. Well, I have a lot of siblings, but from my mother, I only have 3. So I grew up 3 sisters, including me, 4 sisters, no brothers.
Oh.
But I have about 13 siblings.
Oh, wow.
Dad, if I can get my numbers right.
Oh, okay.
So I have brothers, so I have people. I have a really, really huge family.
That's good.
And things of that nature. So I've gotten a good balance of learning how to be connected to people, being considerate of people. So no, I'm not the only child. My husband is, but I'm
cool. So how's that?
Child person with a person who learns how to enact with people. That's interesting most days.
It's interesting. I noticed that about my little nephew. He's the only child. I'm like, he'll play, like he interacts with other kids, but there are certain times that he's like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm like, where'd he go? He's over here in the room playing his game. Like, I'm over y'all today. So I think it's just those things adapting. Like my husband only has one sister. I have 4 sisters. I have brothers, and I'm just like, you only have one. Like, this is
only one.
You only have one. He only has one person, and I'm like, you need to be calling your sister. You need to be. And he's like, we don't do that. We text. We do that. I'm like, okay, but
again, trying to tell him what to do.
Right? Bossing them around, y'all. Bossing them around.
Do what she said now.
Call your sister. No, and I'm like, people always complain about their in-laws, and I'm like, I don't have those problems because I only got one sister-in-law, and she's sweet, and we good. I'm like, that's y'all.
Don't have all that extra.
Right, we don't have all that extra. But yeah, I think having a big family really does teach you how to deal with those different types of personalities.
And it makes sense for the profession we went into. There's so many different people, so many different personalities, so much stuff, so many people you learning from in both ways, good, bad, and just indifferent.
Right.
So people, building them people skills is serious.
Yes. Parents, dealing with the parents. So a lot of times when you get kids in your office, and you're talking to them about their behaviors, maybe their grades or whatever's going on, how important is it to learn about their family?
Oh, I ask all my on enrollment. Like if you're a new student and you're enrolling, classes. So you got siblings? Do they go to so-and-so? Because one thing you can account for that conversation is, oh, this lady like talking to me. Right? Like she talking to me. So I have now opened the door that as you are upon enrollment, I might could go to her about something that don't have nothing to do with work because she's already shown an interest. Oh, me too. Oh, my husband's in the military. Oh, your daddy. Oh, okay. Your uncles were, and you find out a lot. Like I found out so much on first conversation that guides me throughout the rest of the year. Yeah, I can see you in the hallway because if you tell me on enrollment, my mom died. Okay. I know when I interact with you now, when I see you, I need to give you a little, how you doing today? Just give you those things that you may forever at this point feel like there's a hole there. Yeah. So that enacting and getting to know people and that communication with those kids is like vital because that's why they come find you.
Oh my God.
That's why they come look for you. That's why they can graduate and be like, oh, I found you because they know that connection's there. You established that with them. We established that with them a long time ago.
Yeah, you really do. And those connections are so important. Like learning little things, like you said, those conversation starters. But even with families, because I've literally called parents and we all cried on the phone. Like once I really get into what's really going on, it's like, oh, okay, this is all making sense. But building those connections are so pivotal. Also, I did my first last year I did a conference where where you have this bullying incident, and I brought in both families. I kind of prepped them beforehand, and I was like, God, please don't let them start fighting in here because I don't know what I'm gonna do. But it worked out. But just coming in, having everybody sit at a round table and have these discussions, it's so. To be so intentional about showing that you care and showing that you really want them to start communicating as adults and not like this, but with this and with this, it teaches them something too, because maybe they didn't learn that later on. Right. So those are all key things when you're dealing with kids, because it all starts at home. It's all starting in their household.
Listen, dealing with, or I've noticed even too, when you have conferences where you're speaking to parents and then you realize that this person still ain't grew up. Like, so you got a stuck person who's raising another kid who gonna get stuck, and it's like trauma overload. Yeah. And it's rolling down. So you being the person that's clear of mind, that got a good sense of, to be able to navigate, not disregarding this parent, but also holding that accountability there, and then still helping this kid. So ultimately, you still helping. So in and out of school, you doing the same thing. It's just you got to watch your boundaries at school a little more than outside of school. But you are ultimately, this impact is running rampant like it's going.
It is. And people need to be held accountable. And I think even as when you have parents, it's just holding them accountable and saying, look, you're the adult in this situation. I should see, because I witnessed my first fight last year between two parents. And like literally on school grounds, fighting on the floor in the school. I had never, ever. And I was like, oh my God, like y'all on the floor, like in front of your kid, like getting down. And so afterwards, because I had a relationship with one of the parents, you can literally see her remorse. Like she was just like,
I just can't
apologetic, crying. But they revert back to those little kids. And so I love that you said that, because sometimes you're dealing with two kids. Yeah. You're dealing with a parent who's a kid.
And that's one thing for me that's always important. Who am I dealing with? Like, who am I dealing with? I was, in a situation this week where some adult people, we weren't like on the same page about stuff. Not nothing major. But the thing that got me through, that made me like not even get hyped up, was like, I have already started to identify in the room who I was dealing with. And I remember Kelly Clarkson was saying the other day on TV, was like, you don't always got to show up to the fight.
Wow.
You don't have to always show up in the argument. And so sometimes when you can recognize who you're dealing with, I don't have to even show up to this fight. This argument ain't for me. Like, because I already know you ain't really fighting with me. You ain't really arguing with me, honey. Like
it's something else
going on. And I'm going to give you enough grace.
Come on.
To not show up with you like that. Like, and so when people watch you extend grace, that's how people start to let people make it, so to speak, as we say, or not engage, is because know who you dealing with. Because sometimes you ain't also dealing with the person. You also dealing with the spirit that ain't right. And you don't want to be in no spiritual warfare with nobody. Like that.
No.
I tap out at that. Like when I realize it's not you, I'm going to give you some grace. But when I realize that this is the spirit here and this ain't going to go well, I'm going to tap out.
Yeah, and you can literally see it in someone's eyes. Like when they not really,
when they
like,
here,
okay, no, you're not here. Something else is there.
Yeah. And I'm gonna
just let you. You got it.
You got it.
And you need those people. And so I love that I had you on. She dropped a lot of gems, y'all.
It was exciting.
Super excited. Y'all make sure y'all go follow her. Tell the people where they can follow you on Instagram.
You can follow me on Instagram at p.o.p.counseling. You can follow me on Facebook, Pop Counseling as well. Website, www.p.o.p.counseling.com. Progressing on Purpose Counseling, but so long. So let's get real catchy. But just being out there, following other people. I say sometimes, like, I'll get on social media, be intentional about who you're watching, who you're following, who you connecting with, because you may get that thing you need. You may make that connection you need to make.
Yeah.
And just being intentional about your progressing on purpose.
Yeah, and as I'm sitting here with her, I'm thinking of my friend. She's hosting a conference. It's called Melanin Minds in Houston. I'm gonna message her, ask her if she has all her speakers, because she would be great for the panel. They're doing it at the Big Brothers and Sisters downtown. And so I'm going to ask her, because I think it would be great for the panel. But yeah, just making those connections. I've been getting into a lot of rooms, networking, pushing myself kind of out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Not that, yeah.
Following people, meeting people, inviting them on, and just building those relationships. So that is very important. But y'all make sure y'all go follow her. Y'all go buy her book. I'm going to have info in the description for y'all to go and buy her book. Okay, so this is the last part that I like to do.
Yes.
Questions for me.
Okay. Here's the thing. The question I would have for you would be, from this podcast, what do you need people to know about you?
I need people to know about me. What I need people to know about me is that I'm a safe space. Like this is a place where you can come and just be yourself, whether it's on camera, off camera. If you need to DM me for advice, whatever you need, like I always try to be a person of like, try to give you my best advice or whatever I can do to help. Just reach out. And so I want people to know that I'm helpful and that I'm open.
And the last thing I would say, probably not a question, but I would say I appreciate you for your willingness to do what God tells you to do.
Oh, thank you.
Because, you know, you don't really know what you're doing. Not you, but we don't really know what we're doing and how big or small it is sometimes until we do it. So just your willingness to be obedient. The energy in here, people, is for real. Okay. Like you can go places and you can do things. And, you know, for me, I'm a talker. I can be anywhere. I can go any stage. Just give me a microphone. Give me a TED talk, honey. That's what that was my own little plug. But when you go in places and the energy is there and you can feel that, hey, there's a hand over here. This is awesome.
I love that.
Every room is now filled with good stuff. So
no, that's true. And my face normally says everything. And so I'm the person that's like, my husband's like, fix your face. Stop looking like that. Why are you looking like that? Yeah, because I'm big on energy and I'm big on not just inviting anybody on my platform. And so I'm a little picky sometimes about people. My husband's like sending me all these people and I'm like, nah. But I'm just big on vibes. And so immediately when I saw you speaking on social media, I was like, oh yeah, I want to see if she would come on. And I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone by messaging people, emailing people. I'm like, oh, it's real. Go check it out. Go look at it. See if it's something you like. Yeah. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day and coming on. Y'all go follow, like, share, subscribe, and go buy the book. Okay?
Come on, healing on the way. Healing.
Right. Any last words you want to leave the people with?
Do the work, people. Let's really get out there and do the work, and not for nobody else, for yourself. Yeah. And when you change, everybody around you will too.
I love that. That's the real. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Well, guys, that concludes our episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Allow Yourself Grace podcast. For additional information about today's episode, please click the link in the show notes below. To learn more about our Grace Girls community and other resources we have to offer, head over to www.allowyourselfgrace.com. Until next time, Grace Girls, I love you all, be blessed, and continue to strive for success.